I've always watched a load of YouTube, but not many movies, and I kind of feel like I'm missing out. So today, I'm gonna rebrand famous movies as if they were made by YouTubers to make them more appealing to people like me. Here's Jimmy! First up, we have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Almost every frame in the movie is a work of art, so the thumbnail is gonna have to be great to do it any justice. Before I start designing, I need an idea for the title and thumbnail. In the movie, Miles Morales faces his nemesis, the Spot, and sneaks into the multiverse to pursue him, but makes a few innocent mistakes, and now the level 100 Spider-Man is mad and tries to capture him. Great look. That gives me an idea for the title. I snuck into the Spider-Verse, in brackets, almost arrested. First, let's start with the portal that Miles sneaks through in the movie. I'll cut it out, but we're gonna need a room for it to be in. I chose this empty, industrial looking one for a reason that I'll explain later. From watching the movie, I can see that objects near the portal have this cool glowing line effect. There's a filter in Photoshop that'll do just that for me, so I'll make multiple different colors and offset them slightly to create a similar effect. I also gave the background a poster filter to make it look like it's from a cartoon. Okay, we obviously need to include Miles being sneaky in the thumbnail, so I found a frame of that from the movie and I've cut it out. One of Miles' superpowers is that he can turn invisible, so to mimic that effect, I'll fill his shape with blue and then overlay more glowing lines to highlight the edges on his body. Next up, we need to include Miguel O'Hara, the Spider-Man who's just slightly annoyed at Miles. I'll cut him out, then color correct to be brighter and more saturated. I've positioned him facing away from the portal as if he's guarding it, with Miles sneaking through in the background. Next, I'm gonna add some glowing edges to Miguel, and then I tried some things to make the lines in the background look more like those from the movie. I settled on having fewer lines closer to the portal and more further away. I also made the background a lot darker, and things are starting to look pretty cool. Now to bring it all together, we need some colorful light emanating from the portal. I'm gonna paint yellows, oranges, and purples in varying intensities to give the portal the effect of floating in the middle of the room, and just being out of this dimension. Taking a closer look at the glowing lines in the movie, we can see that some of them shift from color to color. I'm gonna apply that to Miguel's glowing lines and make the side closer to the portal orange and the side further away purple. Now add a slight shadow being cast by Miguel's body, but none for Miles because he's invisible. Lastly, I added some final touch-ups like color corrections, zooming in, and adding a vignette. I do feel like something's missing though. And there it is, the final thumbnail. Next up is maybe my favorite movie ever, but first let me explain the theory behind this image. The point of a thumbnail is to get the viewer to click, so we need to draw their attention as best we can. There are 3 key elements in this thumbnail, which is a good number. The portal is in the center, and the colors stand out from the dark background, which helps to draw the eye inward. I'm pretty happy with this. Movie 2 is Home Alone. This might be my favorite movie. It's just got so much nostalgia for me. In short, Kevin's family forget him at home when they go on holiday, and he has to defend the house from 2 burglars with a bunch of creative traps. The closest comparison to this on YouTube is Mark Rober and his glitter bombs, designed to be a nasty surprise to robbers. From looking at his thumbnails for these videos, we can see that a lot of them have an action shot of the thief getting pranked. I'm gonna go through all the traps in the movie and find ones that would work for a thumbnail like that. Okay, I've narrowed it down to 3 scenes. One where a robber enters the door and gets set alight by a flamethrower. One where they slip on toy cars, and another where they get hit in the face with swinging paint cans. Now, there's not too much going on in Mark Rober's thumbnails, but there are definitely some important details. Firstly, the pictures are quite desaturated. That goes contrary to most YouTube thumbnails, which are just so saturated. It makes it feel like the trap actually works and isn't some clickbait garbage. Okay, I chose the one with the flames and we're gonna desaturate it. I'm gonna change these red curtains to a light gray because they're a bit too distracting from the flame, which is the main focus. Nice. Now that wallpaper's also a bit too busy, I'm gonna go through the annoying process of cutting that out to replace it with a plain wall. And you might think that this is a bit pointless, but just trust the process, okay? I'm gonna color correct, blur, and add some film grain to help it fit in. I'll make the flame a bit more vivid to stand out, but this cupboard is sticking out too much, so I'll use a gradient map to make the color less intrusive. I've been thinking about a title for this video. We'll make it similar to Mark Rober's and call this one Trap House vs Burglars. With this title, I think the trap needs to be one of the focal points. I'll make it brighter and highlight the gas tank in blue since that's a complementary color to orange, making it stand out more. Okay, now to bring the scene to life, I'll paint some bright orange light shining on all the surfaces from the flame. And of course, that'll cast a shadow from this cupboard. To tie things up, I'll add a vignette to further help draw the eye to the center of the image. And it wouldn't be a Mark Rober thumbnail without a big red arrow. Nice. Lastly, the film is pretty low resolution since it's from 1990, so I'll use a website to enhance the quality of the image. I'll make a couple minor adjustments, and there we have it. A Mark Rober-esque redesign of Home Alone for YouTube. Looks pretty simple, but there's actually a good amount of effort and theory that goes into making this. Next movie is Despicable Me. This is a childhood classic for me. It's about Gru's plot to steal the moon and his development as a father figure. I think one of those might be a bit more interesting to click on. Yeah, we'll go with that one. And who is the only YouTuber that could make a video on a scale that big? It's Mr. Beast. We're gonna make a thumbnail in his style, and to start with, I'll collect some frames from the movie that I think would work. Okay, I just made this and I hate it. I'm gonna start over. First, we'll cut out the pink spacesuit. I need to show Gru stealing the moon, and I found this perfect scene where he holds it in his hand after shrinking it down.
I've got the moon!
Right, we're gonna need an arm to fill this space, and I found a shot right here that I think would work. At this point I was tired of cutting things out because it's just tedious, so I took my frustrations out on Gru and cut off his head. Back to the task at hand, I'll work my magic to make the metal band on his wrist line up nicely, and we're gonna have to paint in some artificial light and shadows to make the arm more cohesive with the hand and the spacesuit. There we go. It's looking decent, but not perfect. I'll just come back to it later. In the spirit of Mr. Beast, I'm doing a giveaway. Gru just won himself a brand new head. I chose this frame because it has Gru showing off his smile, and Mr. Beast likes to do that in like every situation ever, so yeah. Okay, I'm gonna cast some shadows from his head, and I'll fill this space with some cushioning. Thankfully, the spacesuit covers up where his neck might be. I don't know if he has a neck. Yeah, let's not go there. Okay, I just realized that I painted over all the texture on his arms, so I'm gonna add that back in. And I'll also touch up the lighting to look a bit better, but it's still not final. I'm not great at lighting, so I just take my time with it. Okay, he's gonna be in space after all, so he'll need a helmet to breathe. I'm gonna use a circular mask to paint in some reflections on the edges of the glass helmet. Lastly, we need to touch his face up.
Bombastic side eye.
Thankfully, I think he has the same skincare routine as Mr. Beast, so I don't need to do anything there. I'll add a curves layer to... Whoa. Anyway, I'll add a curves layer to paint brighter shades into his face where there's shadows. Now, it wouldn't be a Mr. Beast thumbnail without some exaggerated edits to his face. First, we need to brighten those eyes up by boosting the whites and the blues. Nice, now we'll step up his hygiene game and brush those teeth relentlessly until they're a dazzling white. Next, I'll launch him into space, and we're in the end game now. I realized his eyes should be looking at the viewer rather than away, so I'll swap out his pupils and accidentally create my sleep paralysis demon. What the hell? Moving swiftly on, I figured out what was missing. Planet Earth. Look how much better it looks now. I made some final adjustments to the colors in the image, including changing the spacesuit to a striking red, and since Mr. Beast loves to swap out his thumbnails to see which gets the most views, I made some alternate versions of this one. And there we have it, 3 different video concepts for 3 famous movies. Let me know which video you'd click on, and drop me some movie suggestions. I want to get more into them. On the screen now is a real video you could click on, and since you made it all the way to the end of this one, I'm sure you'd enjoy that. Also, 99% of you aren't subscribed. Let's go for 98, guys. Come on. You got this.